That time a neighborhood kid got even on the asshole delivery guy. A few years ago, our mail carrier got replaced with this new guy named Dave, and Dave was the biggest jerk I've ever met in my entire life. Like, he would walk straight through people's flower gardens instead of using the sidewalk. He'd throw packages at front doors. He was rude to everyone. But the worst part was, Dave would pee in a water bottle while doing his route. And if he was having a bad day, he'd just chuck that bottle of piss into someone's yard. I'm not kidding. Full bottles of urine just landing in people's gardens. One time my neighbor, this sweet old lady named Ruth, saw him throw one and asked him to please throw it in the trash instead. Dave picked up the bottle and threw it at her. It hit her fence and exploded everywhere. Multiple people complained to the post office about him. But here's the thing, Dave's dad, Bob, was the postmaster. So every time someone complained, Bob would make excuses. Oh, Dave's had a rough life. He's a foster kid. He's still adjusting. Give him time. Like, that somehow made it okay to throw piss bottles at old ladies. And Bob was best friends with the local sheriff, Steve. So if you tried going to the cops, Steve would just laugh it off with this boys will be boys attitude. Mind you, Dave was like 35 years old. Not exactly a boy. This went on for months. Everyone on our street hated Dave, but nobody could do anything about it because his dad and the sheriff protected him. Then one day in the middle of summer, all the neighborhood kids were outside playing with water guns. It was like 95 degrees out. Perfect water gun weather. One of the kids, this 12-year-old named Oren, had this insane super soaker, like the kind that shoots water like 15 feet, and Oren was really good with it. The kid had perfect aim. I was in my backyard grilling burgers when I heard this scream. Not like a surprise scream, like a horror movie, someone's dying type of scream. Everyone on the block came running to see what happened. There's Dave standing in the middle of the street, absolutely covered in this brown, sticky liquid that smelled absolutely disgusting. He's screaming and gagging and trying to wipe it off his face. The whole street was watching. Turns out Oren had found one of Dave's piss bottles that he'd thrown in someone's yard, and Oren had a brilliant idea. He emptied the bottle into his super soaker. Then he topped it off with a can of Red Bull to make it even stickier. So when Dave walked by doing his route, Oren just unloaded on him, completely soaked him head to toe in his own piss mixed with Red Bull. The sun was beating down and it started cooking on Dave's skin. The sugar from the Red Bull made it all sticky, and the smell was getting worse by the second. One of my neighbors, this really nice lady named Karen, actually offered to let Dave use her shower. But Dave was so mad he ran to someone else's house, grabbed their garden hose, and just started spraying himself off in the street. So now Dave was sticky, covered in piss, and soaking wet. He just left all his mail and packages in the street and ran off to his truck. We didn't see him for the rest of the day. That afternoon, Bob and Steve came walking down our street. They were asking everyone if they saw what happened to Dave. Everyone just said, nope, didn't see anything. Finally, they got to Oren's house, and Bob being Bob decided to ask the 12-year-old kid directly. Oren told them exactly what he did and why. He explained how Dave threw piss bottles in yards, how he was mean to everyone, how nobody liked him. Just laid it all out in that honest way kids do. Bob and Steve went straight to Oren's dad. They're standing on his front porch going, "Is this your son? Do you know what he did to Dave? This is assault." Oren's dad just looked at Sheriff Steve and said, completely straight-faced, "Well, Steve, don't you always say boys will be boys?" The look on their faces was priceless. Steve's mouth just hung open. Bob turned bright red and they both walked off without saying another word. We never saw Dave deliver mail again. The post office sent someone else the next week. And when Oren's birthday rolled around a few months later, every single person on our street showed up to his party with presents. That kid became a neighborhood legend.